First of all, what is anti-pattern? Anti-patterns is something that tells us how to go from a problem to a bad solution. It is a contrast to what amelioration pattern, which tells us how to go from bad solutions to a problem. So, what are the uses of anti-patterns? Okay, first of all, anti-patterns is a natural extension of design patterns. It also is identifying the bad practices is as important as finding the good practices. Andrew Kinney, one of the leading researchers in Bell Library, actually coined the term anti-patterns. Jim Copian, one of the pioneers in software design patterns, once said that a pattern may look good as an idea, but when implemented, it might backfire. It's not fun documenting the things that people agree it won't work, but the people may not recognize a good pattern. The study of anti-patterns is important in research activities. The presence of good patterns in a successful system is not enough. We have to show the absence of patterns in an unsuccessful system also. So, in this video, I'll be explaining some of the basic concepts of anti-patterns.
Even though anti-patterns were developed from the notion of design patterns, there is a significant difference between the two concepts. Those differences can be summarized into three fundamental categories. 1. Area of focus, 2. Starting point, and 3. Output. The table shows a comparison of three aspects of design patterns and anti-patterns. The description of these aspects is as follows. Area of focus. The development of design patterns stems from the analysis of successful behavior. Design pattern authors study successful solutions to articulate a repeatable path from the problem to the solutions. Anti-pattern authors study failed solutions, working backwards to determine the common mistakes made. To say that anti-patterns focus on mistake is not to say that goal of anti-pattern is to identify them. The expressed goal of anti-pattern is to describe a way to refactor the failed solution into a successful one. Figure shows a diagram of conceptual difference between design patterns and anti-patterns. The starting point of two illustrate an important distinction. Users of design patterns typically begin with a well-defined problem and in finding the relating pattern, identify the best path to take to the solution. Anti-pattern begin with a failed solution. Because the failed solutions and the elements surrounding it are often ill-defined, the fundamental step of identifying the anti-pattern to use can be very challenging. Matters are further complicated by the fact that anti-patterns are very rarely isolated, and anti-pattern with the same cause but different symptoms can occur at the same time. One of the most important aspects of using design patterns and anti-pattern is the use of templates. They provide a consistent way to describe the pattern, its causes, symptoms, and resolutions. However, the most templates have several elements in common. The following are the important elements in an anti-pattern. First one, pattern name. A good pattern name should possess two qualities. It should be memorable and it should be descriptive. These qualities serve an important purpose. Second one, general form. The general form section provides the general characteristics of pattern and an overall description of how it becomes apparent. The refactor solution directly addresses this section. Symptoms and consequences. This section provides a bulleted list of pattern symptoms and consequences that indicate and or results from the main station of anti-pattern. Typical causes. This section is bulleted list that provides the user with a list of typical causes for the failed solution. The user will then compare this list to real-world events that lead up to the failed solutions. Known exception. This section is important to differentiate when diagnosed anti-pattern may be acceptable. For example, stovepipe system, which may be undesirable in production environment, may be totally acceptable in a prototype or research and development environment. This section will also be consulted to determine whether or not anti-pattern should be addressed. Refactor solutions. The primary purpose of using anti-pattern is to get to the point where the user can identify the recommended method for refactoring the current failing situation into a more desirable one. This section describes one or more methods to obtain the desired solutions. Using of anti-patterns. Anti-patterns provide a succinct, easy-to-read way to describe and discuss a problem. Developing anti-patterns can be an effective way to analyze a problem's face and capture expert knowledge. The more ultimate use of anti-pattern as a tool for refactoring a failed solution can be broken down into 3 fundamental steps. Step 1. Understanding the problem domain. First, a user may be deeply entrenched in an anti-pattern before perceiving a side effect. Knowing the symptoms of a relevant anti-patterns may make it possible to identify and address the causes before serious consequences arise. Step 2. Identifying which anti-pattern is appropriate. Beginning with an overall understanding of anti-pattern and understanding the general form of those anti-patterns, the user begins to search for the most relevant anti-pattern. Step 3. Implement the most appropriate solution. The most important element of an anti-pattern is the existence of refactor solution. The refactor solution section of the pattern describes one or more possible ways to refactor the current failed solution. These are the 3 steps involved in using anti-patterns. An anti-pattern is a pattern gone bad. It's frequently used but largely ineffective solution to a problem. A well-formed anti-pattern provides a structured way to describe the initial problematic solution and the most appropriate way to refactor the solution. As with design pattern, collaboration is key to success. While design patterns are widely accepted and have redundant resources, the concept of anti-pattern is still relatively immature. If technology continues to mature and knowledge base grows, anti-patterns will become more useful and consequently more used. If nothing else, anti-patterns provide an enjoyable and interesting format to discuss and capture domain expertise.